In this tutorial, we will explain what we mean by dynamic lists, why they are so practical by showing you a few examples, and how to create one yourself. So, as an example, this page set uses a dynamic list. Here, the contents of a list are displayed in just one cell and scrolled through using the navigation cells. A useful analogy is to compare dynamic lists to watching television, where you can watch different content by selecting different channels. This offers many possibilities. You can, for example, use multiple dynamic lists on a single page. This allows you to show extensive vocabulary on just one page.
I am happy.
This can be helpful to visualize and stimulate sentence structure. You can stay on the same page and don't have to navigate to different pages to build a sentence. If you want to expand your vocabulary later on, then by using dynamic content, you don't have to reorganize or add new pages to squeeze in new vocabulary. You can maintain the familiar page layout. So, to create your own dynamic content, first go into Edit View with the shortcut key F2 or by going to Menu and clicking Edit. You will need at least 2 pages. The first will be a page that will display the content of the dynamic list, or, as used in my previous analogy, the television screen. The second page will contain the content of the dynamic list, with all the words, images and actions you want to use. We will start with the first screen, the display. You decide how big your display will be. How many cells do you want to see at a glance? In order to then make those cells display the contents of a dynamic list, you need to select Add Action and then Dynamic Content, followed by Show Cell from another page, found under the Dynamic List Most Used section. Now choose which page containing your content that you want to display in these cells. A logical page name will always help you when setting these up. Now you have your television screen set up, but you also need to be able to change channels. You need to set up a cell to do this. This is also done by adding an action. So go to Dynamic Content under the Dynamic List Most Used section and choose Next, for example. This creates a button with a specific symbol, label and action. You can change the image, label and style to your liking. Now we want to add the content to our second page that will contain the content that will be displayed on our display page. We start by filling in cells with words, images and speech actions. The more rows and columns your page has, the more space you have for vocabulary. You can always add more rows and columns later on. A useful tip is to give pages that contain the dynamic list content a flashy background colour. That way, when you browse through the pages, you can quickly find dynamic list pages. If you want to reuse your lists in another page set or another user, then it is possible under Page Settings to import and export your list. You have now seen some examples of what dynamic lists can be used for and how you can create one. It's also useful to note that the contents of a dynamic list don't just have to be words. Any actions used in ImportExport can be in a dynamic list. There are many possibilities, such as a scrollable index page. Please watch our other tutorials so you can get to know ImportExport further.